with the format selected again to be along the lines of how the opposition candidates or perhaps opposition people in the crowd would phrase a question at a candidate. This one is going to start with you, Dean Scontras. The question is this: during the current administration, energy prices have more than doubled, and oil companies have reported record profits. What should the federal government do to address perceived price gouging by big oil and to reduce our consumption of energy?
When it comes to this question about energy, I'm a supply side. If you want to make prices go down, you got to find more oil. It's that. Well, there's a few different elements to this equation. But just last week on the floor of the United States Senate, we have 86 billion barrels of oil off the coast of California. How many people are in the Gulf? How many people knew that? And the Senate voted what? No, we're not going to explore. If you want to see prices go down, we have to approach this from a supply side perspective. I've heard every other candidate in this race talking about putting another man on the moon. We gotta develop another branch of government, right? Put a man on the moon. Well, for the amount of money we spent in ethanol subsidies, we can put your money on the moon, for goodness sakes. That's not the way to approach this. The way to approach this is from a supply side perspective. Also, we haven't built a refinery in this country for 25 years. You can't talk about energy prices and not talk about supply side economics. Secondly, we've got to address the currency and the falling of the dollar in the open markets. Because the lower the dollar value, the more the bad guys are going to ask us for a barrel of oil. It's just that easy. Now, why is the currency falling? Look at the productivity rates of the United States. Not the productivity rates, but if you think about us as an organization, we're $34 trillion in the hole. And once again, who owns that debt? Who owns it? To quiz? China, right? And where are they drilling for oil? Off the coast of Cuba. This is a vicious cycle. When it gets to energy, our debt, and who owns it. So when I go to Washington, D.C., I will continue to do what I've done in this race here, which is raise awareness about this issue. This is a supply side issue. And if somebody gets up here and talks to you about electric cars and men on the moon, run for the hills. Because that's 15 years away. Gas prices are already increasing this spring, and they're supposed to go down. Mainers are going to be in real trouble next winter if we don't get more oil in the reserves or more oil on the supply side of things. So also, I would join Senator Collins in calling for some regulation of the commodities trading in oil futures. When you talk about driving up the price of something by investing in it, you've got a falling currency, and you've got bad investors driving up the price of oil artificially. And I know it makes good fodder for Ethan, Shelley, and I don't know the rest of the names. I know it makes good fodder for all of them to beat up big oil and run on a profit. Oh, God forbid. But profit, that's an element of efficiency. Look at the United States government. We're $34 trillion in the hole. I wish they would run on a profit. So when Dean Scontras goes to Congress, I will talk about it. I will raise awareness. I will talk about refineries. I will talk about drilling here in this country, off the coast, in Anwar, and also start commissioning nuclear power plants. Thank you very much.
I'm that person that talks about focusing our efforts on doing the same thing, I should say, as President Kennedy drove this country to do in the 1960s, when he focused our energy, our effort, and our devotion, not just with the government, but with the private sector, and with the schools, and everyone, to putting a man on the moon. I'm that person that Dean's talking about. Because I do think you have to dream bold, and I do think you have to dream big. And you have to focus the energy and the effort of this country in becoming energy independent. Because make no mistake about it, what we're talking about is not just energy independence, we're talking about national security. I believe that we need to drill in Anwar. I believe that we need to drill off the coast of Florida. I believe that we need to drill in Utah, because we do have an immediate need for oil. But I think that we have to take the longer term look at that. In the short term, we need to get oil production up in this country. We need to have more refineries. We need to have nuclear power, without a question. But we also need to develop hydrogen power. We also need to make sure that people who want to drive energy efficient cars have the ability to do that. That's why I support upping the tax break for buying an energy efficient car from $3,000 to $10,000. That's why I support making the cost of the interest on buying an energy efficient car 100% deductible, just exactly the way your mortgage interest is deductible. Because what we need to do is enable people to be good stewards of the environment. I don't think there's a person in this room that wants to have dirty air or dirty water. I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't agree that we need to get off of foreign oil. And I think while we are drilling for our own energy resources, our own oil. We need to get the nuclear power plants on board. We need to make sure that we have the energy and the technology that we need. We need, like I said, hydrogen power. We need to throw everything we have at this process. Because if we remain dependent on foreign oil, that affects our national security. This is a national security issue, and that means we need to mobilize the country. We need to mobilize the school children. We need to mobilize the private sector to make sure that we can address this issue. And I certainly hope 10 years from now, we have that technology because we were strong enough to stand up and take a strong stand on this issue. And that's exactly what I will do as a member of Congress. Thank you.
Moderator decides when there's rebuttal time. Tonight, I think it's appropriate that the candidates decide if they'd like to have rebuttal time. So I just throw that out there. I'm not saying that there needs to be on this question or the question before that, but please just signal to me if you feel you deserve or would like to have some rebuttal time. Next question, we're going to begin with Charlie. Again, reminder of the audience, the questions are written by the committee to be phrased how the opposition would ask the question. Healthcare is the right of every American, and no one should go without healthcare they need. How would you ensure that every American citizen has access to the same health care afforded to members of Congress?
That's a great question, because I think that when you talk about the health care debate, I need some health care tonight. When you talk about the health care debate, you'll hear a variety of answers on this. You hear Ethan Strimling saying we need to wipe everything out and create a single-payer system. That's the wrong idea. We do not want the same people bringing us our health care that brought us the IRS. Plain and simple. But what we need to do is move this debate forward. I don't think we can afford, I know we can't afford, to get mirrored down in more rhetoric and more hyperbole on this issue. We have to take some concrete steps forward. And there are two things that I want to do as a member of Congress. First of all, I support and have been a strong supporter of small business health plans. Small business health plans would allow small businesses to band together nationwide and get group discounts on health care. That would expand the competition, not only in Maine, but across the United States, which would drive the cost down. It wouldn't create another federal program. It wouldn't create another federal regulation. It wouldn't create another bureaucracy. It would simply allow businesses to do right by themselves and their employees and provide that all-important benefit of health care. Secondly, and I think this is key, we need to make the cost of health care 100% deductible for everyone in the United States. 100% deductible. That brings affordability into it, and it also brings competition into the market. It would bring more insurers into the state of Maine. Because if people have the ability to do right, to be able to buy that insurance, that is critically important. Because again, that does not expand the bureaucracy, it does not create more regulation, more oversight, it simply opens up the markets. I think it's critical that we do that, and if we take those steps, rather than going to single-payer health care, we take those steps, those are two concrete things. They are not the panacea, they are not the total answer to the question, but they are moving the process forward. If we allow ourselves to get bogged down in a big debate on this again, 2 years from now, 2 years from tonight, either me or somebody else is going to be standing up here telling you, we got to do something about health care. We wringing our hands, we got to do something about health care. Got to do something about health care. Yeah, we do. And we can start by passing small business health plans and making the cost of health care insurance 100% deductible. Thank you.